Hi, everyone. All right, we are kicking off week 4 of the 5 conditions that are preventing you from getting pregnant or staying pregnant. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's a freebie that I released about 4 weeks ago, and I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can see it. The 5 conditions that are preventing you from getting pregnant and what to do about it. So these are the conditions that most women come to me right here: PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, autoimmune conditions, and then low progesterone. What we have covered so far is PCOS, endometriosis, and then low progesterone. And today we're going to talk about autoimmune conditions. And then we have one more that's called fibroids. We're going to dive deep and help you understand. Now, the big theme here, you guys, is, and what I'm really trying to teach you, so to empower you, so we're not stopping at the diagnosis. What I see a lot is when women say, oh, I'm diagnosed with PCOS. Oh, I have Hashimoto's. Oh, I have this. And then that's that. That's like you stop there and now you're just focused on treating or managing PCOS, managing your Hashimoto's. You're not looking deeper as to why your body is expressing those symptoms. Why is your body starting to form cysts on the ovaries? Why is your thyroid attacking itself, right? That's in Hashimoto's. And specifically today, we're going to talk about autoimmune conditions because immunity, like the health of the immune system for the female, is really, really important for fertility. And the reason being is, well, first of all, when we attract a male partner, and I don't know if you guys know this, and I'd love to know if you do, but when you attract a male partner, right, some research and studies are showing that we actually know within seconds if this is somebody who is going to be compatible for us versus not. And the way that we know that is through our nose. The pheromones that the opposite sex releases when we smell that person, we either know that, hey, is it somebody that is compatible to us versus not. The way that we attract someone is someone who actually has the opposite immune system for us. And for reproduction purposes, why would we want to attract somebody who has the opposite immune system as us? Is because the hope is when you get together, you would get some of your immune system, right, and some of your partners. And so it would be a much better immunity spread out. So that all starts from the attraction, and really you can go in as deep as the smell that we produce is actually from our bacteria cell, that because we as humans have more bacterial cells than we have human cells. And like, you know, if this is the first time you hear that, the first time that I did, it was super mind-boggling for me. Like, we literally are just walking bacteria. And so immune system function is how well are we able to live with the bacteria that's not only in our system, but around us, right? So the terrain that we have, but also in our environment. How well are we able to fight off pathogens? How well are we able to, you know, how strong is our own gut immune system and skin? Like, everything has bacteria. The point being is why it's important to have a strong immune system function for the female is because the reaction of the sperm and the egg, the first reaction is that of the immune system. So both the egg and the sperm have vitamin D receptors on them. And those are the receptors that interact at first before the sperm can even start to, penetrate the egg. So it's that immune system reaction that the egg has to accept the sperm. Now, the sperm is a foreign body. And if the immune system is dysregulated and it can't tell apart its own cells from pathogenic cells, from, a foreign body that's beneficial, aka something like the sperm coming in to fertilize, it will just attack, right? It will attack everything that's around. The other component of that is once the egg and the sperm, like if it does happen to get fertilized, now the fertilized egg and the blastocyst, as it forms into the embryo and the fetus, that's a foreign body in the female system. So the female immune system has to be really good at down regulating its own immune system in order for the implantation to occur. And then, of course, for the placenta to form, and then the nutrients so that you can carry to term. So the immune system has to be very flexible. And when we have autoimmune conditions, it doesn't tend to be flexible. It's in a hyper state. It's always on. And then the other things that happen with that is that you start to get depleted in nutrients that are needed specifically for your immune system. Why? Because your immune system is always on. So if it's always on, it's just depleting and needing more nutrients. And these are things like vitamin D, vitamin C, selenium, zinc, vitamin A. And now those are the things we also need for good quality eggs. Those are the things that we need for good thyroid function. Those are the things that we need to have energy and vitality. So we see that it kind of has the snowball effect. So as I share my screen here and we talk about, let me scroll down to the autoimmune disease component here. I believe it's right here. The thing is, there's very many different types of autoimmune conditions, right? And so depending on what conditions you have will depend on the symptoms that you have. For example, if you have Graves' disease or Hashimoto's, that's more towards the thyroid. So we're going to be looking at regulating your thyroid, or your conventional doctor will be looking at regulating your thyroid, right? And then here's the big mistake that the conventional medicine makes is when TSH is regulated, they're saying that your thyroid is regulated. But if you go back to my lecture on the thyroid panel and why it's important to test not just TSH, we know that, I'm going to draw that out here. We know that it goes brain, and then this is your thyroid. The way that the brain speaks to the thyroid is through TSH. The thyroid hormone itself is actually the T3 and T4. So when you're just measuring TSH, it does not actually tell us if the thyroid is regulated at all. And this is when women come to me and say, my thyroid is not regulated, but I can't get pregnant. Your TSH is within normal limits, but your thyroid is not. You don't know if it's regulated because you don't know what your free T3 or free T4 or antibodies are doing, right? And I think the mistake is the antibodies, those are your TPOs and the antithyroid globulin. Again, if you watch the thyroid lecture, that's in the guides. And if you want help figuring where that is, just go ahead and message thyroid and I'll get that. I'll tag you in that video. But the point is, we think that these antibodies do not shift. And that's absolutely not true. The antibodies can shift a lot, and it really depends on what's going on inside. And so the goal of today is kind of to really help you understand that, okay, so there is a ton of different autoimmune conditions. And the main thread that we see is that your immune system attacks healthy cells. And that usually results in a lot of inflammation. And then it will depend on the system that's involved. So if it's your thyroid involved, you're going to be either hyper or hypothyroid. If it's your colon involved, like in ulcerative colitis, you're going to have a lot of digestive issues. If it's your joints, right, like rheumatoid arthritis, then you're going to have a lot of pain and inflammation in the joint. The point is, there's a lot of inflammation, and your immune system cannot tell apart between pathogenic cells and your own cells. And like I said, the issue with that is there could be issue with actual fertilization, implantation. You can have late pregnancy lost as well. And really, this is something that's important to just check if it's running in your family, because of course there is a genetic component to this stuff. So let's talk about what causes it. And let's see if I can just scroll down here. But we know that there is a genetic predisposition, but I don't want you guys to say, my mom had it and that's why I have this. My grandma had it and that's why I did. Understand that every single disease has a genetic predisposition. If you look at your parents and you're like, oh, I'm worried I'm going to get heart disease, and both your parents have heart disease, that is your genetic predisposition. But the thing that you have to look at even more at is the environment, because what I'm seeing clinically is autoimmune disease used to pop up in 40s and 50s, and then it was 30s, and now I'm seeing 20-year-olds with autoimmune disease. So has the genes really changed that much, or is something in our environment changing that's causing these autoimmune conditions to turn on a lot sooner than they would otherwise? And, I have some autoimmune disease in my family, some rheumatoid arthritis. I have a lot of heart disease, a lot of obesity. I struggled with weight loss when I was in my early 20s. And I chose to believe that that's not the way that I'm just meant to be. Okay. That was a choice that I made when my doctor told me nothing you could do about it. That was it. Deep down, I knew that that wasn't the case. And I want you to really understand that with autoimmune conditions, the same with PCOS and endometriosis and all of these. Yes, it's absolutely going to be hard work to reverse these conditions. And you're going to have to look into your environment, and you're going to have to really understand and become in tune and aware of what's happening around you. What are you putting in your body? How does it make you feel? You might have to cut out certain foods. You might have to do a lot of different stuff, but it is the best that you're going to feel. It is the most in control and more confident you're going to feel in your body. You're no longer going to rely on a pill that's going to manage your thyroid. That is a really powerful transformation. So I'm saying it's not going to be this easy, whatever journey, but if you choose to believe that this is just the way that you are, then you won't even look for these other options. You're going to sit and think that, oh, I'll try this diet, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Understand, when you have an autoimmune condition, it's not one piece of the pie. I always say, like, I have a pizza model. It's not just one or two slices that you have to cover. You have to cover full 8 slices. So it's diet and lifestyle and supplements and labs and detoxification protocols and understanding your menstrual cycle, mental and emotional support, community, having someone who is actually going to support you through this process. It's all of these pieces. So you're not just getting 1 or 2 pieces at a time. That's typically when people are saying, oh, natural medicine doesn't work. And it's because there's something missing, right? So we have to fill in the whole pizza pie. But let's talk about what are some of the things that cause it. So basically, there are 3 main components, and I'm going to really summarize it for you. 3 main components that I see when it comes to an autoimmune condition. So usually there's a leaky gut. So leaky gut is basically when your intestinal wall is not, there's holes in it. Basically, the membrane is supposed to be really tightly knit. And as there is damage, if there's stress, you're eating foods that you're not supposed to be eating, right? High processed foods, even gluten in high doses, dairy, things that your own body and system is sensitive to, those cells starts to separate. And what happens is you get food particles that are much larger than what they're supposed to be. You get them in the bloodstream. And this is when, if you've ever done a food sensitivity test, or you've heard of them, and it's like, oh, how valid are they and how not? So food sensitivities will show you what foods you're sensitive to. But if you have a lot of food sensitivities, we know that food sensitivities is not the issue. Yes, you might need to cut it out to let the gut heal, but understand that if you are allergic to like 30 or 40 or 50 foods, it's actually the fact that your gut is leaking as opposed to absorbing the foods and then using the nutrients that you're eating from the foods. And the reason that this is a big issue for autoimmune conditions is anything that's in the blood that's not supposed to be there, the immune system is now going, hey, this is not supposed to be here. It initiates an immune response. So now you have an immune response that's being initiated every time you're eating, even though you're thinking, oh, well, I'm eating really good food and I've cleaned up this. But the longer you have this immune response, it puts a strain on the immune response. So that's the number one thing that we see is we see this leaky gut picture. The next thing that we see is usually there is a presence of a chronic infection. And it could be a myriad of things. Okay, so it could be something more like Lyme if you've had tick bites, and it could be low grade chronic. It could be parasites. Now, this is a weird one where people are like, I don't have parasites. Honestly, you guys, all of us have parasites. If you look under in the soil, under the microscope, you're going to see a bunch of bugs and creatures and all of that jazz. And what I talked about at the beginning is like, we are basically walking bacteria. And if we don't have enough good bugs, then it predisposes us to all of these other pathogens coming in and making a home in our body. And it makes us sick. It doesn't make us feel well. It makes us crave more sugar, brain foggy, weight gain, all that jazz. Candida is one. You could also have EBV, H. pylori, mycoplasma, herpes, you name it, anything that's going to wear out your immune system. Your immune system is always trying to fight. And after a long time, it just starts to get, suppressed, if you will. And then there's some sort of a trigger. So now you see that you're eating foods, you're not absorbing these foods, they're causing you more havoc, the stomach lining is compromised, which is about 80% of your immunity. And then your body's trying to fight this infection, whatever infection you had, and it's been there for a long time. And then something happens. And this trigger is really just a stress. And so when I see, sometimes it's a low grade stress that's always happening and you're just not managing. And sometimes it's something big and it could be good or bad. The point is stress is stress on the system. So sometimes it's getting married could be really stressful because you have a lot of planning, planning and families and this, getting a new job, even if it's good, right? Or maybe you got into a car accident and then the system just never recovered. This is when we always see it. Never recovered, never the same. And so again, it's not going to be just one thing that initiates the disease. If this is your first time tuning in, one of the things that I'll always say, like cardiovascular disease doesn't develop overnight. You don't just wake up with cardiovascular disease. And that's the same with autoimmunity. You don't just wake up with an autoimmune condition. Know that there are so many other things that were happening before all of a sudden you got the diagnosis in the immune system. And these are the three things when we look at it that we start to see. And I'm going to use my bucket analogy, right? Is you might start here, but as there's more stuff happening in your life, the bucket gets full. And this is the whole leaky gut, chronic infection of some sort. You're really stressed at your job. And then whatever tiny little thing happens, all of the sudden, now the bucket is spilling over. And you're like, yeah, but I only did. You have to understand that it's everything that you did up to that point matters as opposed to the one tiny thing or maybe a big event that happened in your life. So let's talk about what should we do about it, because of course we're never going to present a problem without presenting a solution. But first of all, understand that a lot of people get misdiagnosed or they're not diagnosed for a long time. And I'm going to bring you back to the bucket. Let's say you're trying to get pregnant. Where is it? Here we go. You're trying to get pregnant and you're here. So your bucket is not spilling over yet, but it's pretty damn close. And so you're trying to get pregnant, you can't get pregnant, and then finally someone runs some tests and like, you might have an autoimmune condition. And then that's that, right? Let's try to manage the TSH. So if we measure for example, it's Hashimoto's, and we just measure your TSH and we fill that up. Do you think that this bucket just got emptier because your TSH is now at the level that it needs to be, right? Not at all. The bucket is still just as full, but on paper, it's just your TSH is doing a little bit better. We don't know how much thyroid hormone you're producing. We don't know what's happening with the antibodies. We don't know if you still have leaky gut. So the main thing that I say is you really need to address the root cause. And that your body is not static. Like I've seen patients with Hashimoto's, when we fix their gut, their antibodies go down to normal levels. They're predisposed to that condition. So if they start to eat poorly, drink a bunch, not sleep properly, then the autoimmune condition is going to act up again. That's the same as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, you name it. So, but getting to the root cause, understanding gut function is really important. Understanding environmental toxin exposure is really important. And, healing. So the two things that the body always needs, I say, you need to remove the obstacle and you need to give the body the nutrients that it needs to heal. That's it. Those are the two things that it needs. Now, as simple as it sounds, it might be more difficult to remove the obstacle. So if you've had a chronic Lyme infection or chronic parasite infection or candida, bacterial vaginosis, you name it, like E. coli, the amount of stuff that I find when we do lab testing, it's insane. So, this is going to take some time to remove that obstacle from healing. And the nutrients needed, some of that is going to, of course, be through food, understanding and learning. Are you eating high quality foods and what's in your food? And is this food that's benefiting you? And as well, of course, there's some supplements. So supplements are going to just speed up your journey. Now, I never just recommend supplements blindly because I don't know what you need, right? I don't know what you need. But what I want you to understand is that it's not normal to have an autoimmune condition. It's absolutely, yes, there's a genetic predisposition. But like I said earlier in this video, I'm starting to see it earlier and earlier in development of my patients. So before it started in 40s and 50s, and then it was 30s, and now it's in 20s. And the problem is when you're in your late 20s, early 30s, being diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, this is when we have children. And immune system function makes it really difficult when the immune system is not functioning the way that it should to have a baby. So I hope you guys found this video helpful and inspiring. What I'd love for you to know is give me your biggest aha from this video. What I would also love for you to know, I just hit 500 members and I'm really excited. So my goal is to get to 1,000. So now I'm at a halfway point. What I'd love for you to do, if you found this video helpful, to either send it to somebody who you think will find it helpful or invite somebody into the group that you think would find this information helpful and they want to learn and they want to understand and take control of their fertility journey. I would be forever grateful. So if you have any questions, shoot them in the comments and I'll get those answered for you. If you want the freebie because you missed it, go ahead and comment 5 conditions. Otherwise, tell me your aha moment. What was your aha moment through this lecture? And I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.